Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Tropical Chatter, your go-to source for online information regarding the 2017 hurricane season. We have a very important update right now. It is 10:20 p.m. Latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center as of 8 p.m. 175-mile-an-hour sustained winds, Category 5. Irma remains an extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane. Movement is at the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. It is absolutely destroying the Turks and Caicos and the southern Bahamas right now. It did move north of the Dominican Republic, as we talked about. It did not disrupt the circulation all that much. Earlier today, there was a little bit of disruption, but it survived quite nicely. It's going through an eye wall replacement cycle right now. As the inner eye wall dissipates, the outer eye wall will take over. It'll contract, it'll strengthen, the storm will deepen some more, and it'll likely maintain strength during this process. Before we get too far into this video, I want to give a huge shout out to Catastrophic Weather. These guys are unbelievable. They make the best products in the world for weather related stuff. Anemometer, barometer. They hooked me up. They were gracious enough to hook me up with this instrument here, the Catastrophic 550 or 5500, excuse me. It's an amazing product. I will be using this down in South Florida over the next couple of days to record air pressure and wind speed during Hurricane Irma. I will be chasing the storm. Talk about that a little bit later, but I just want to thank them for giving me this. I will be giving them shout-outs during this hurricane. They're a great group of people, and I want to thank them again. Their link will be in the description to purchase this item. They have cheaper ones. This is the top-of-the-line one. I have the Kestrel 1000. That is the base model. It does its job great. It only records wind, but it is a great product. All right, let's get back to the 48-hour outlook and discussion from the National Hurricane Center. This is as of 8 p.m. Hurricane force winds remain at 175 miles an hour. They extend outwards up to 70 miles from the center of the storm. Tropical storm force winds have expanded out to 185 miles. 70-mile hurricane force winds is also up from earlier. Earlier it was 50 miles, now it is 70 miles from the center of the storm in each direction. This is an extremely dangerous storm heading towards South Florida. It does not look like we're going to avoid a landfall at all. Touch on the storm surge a little bit here. Turks and Caicos, 15 to 20 feet. It's unbelievable amount of surge. Southeastern and central Bahamas, 15 to 20 foot also. Northern Bahamas, 5 to 10 feet. DR, it's mostly past you now, but you guys had 3 to 5 foot of storm surge. Northern coast of Cuba, 5 to 10 foot of storm surge. Storm surge watches and warnings are now out for South Florida. That's 5 to 10 foot of storm surge. Some areas will receive more than 5 to 10 foot of storm surge. You cannot roll out 20-foot storm surges in certain bays and nooks and crannies, depending on the exact angle the wind comes in for certain locations. It's almost impossible to pinpoint accurately. We do have a pretty general good idea of where it's going to come in at. As for rainfall amounts, National Hurricane Center is saying southeastern Florida and the upper Florida Keys 8 to 12 inches with isolated 20-inch amounts. That right there alone is enough to cause flooding problems. On top of the extreme storm surge and wave run-up, it's just a recipe for disaster. Not to mention the 150 to 160, 175 mile-an-hour winds in the core. If you're not in the core, you're still going to receive gusts over 100 miles an hour. From the west coast of Florida to the east coast of Florida, you're going to receive between 80 and 110 mile-an-hour gusts, even if you do not get in the core of Hurricane Irma. It's a massive system. The winds are spreading out. It's just going to be a total mess for central or South Florida and then central Florida. Move on here to the hurricane hunters are in the system again currently. The first pass they recorded 920 millibars. The second pass they recorded 921. It's a normal fluctuation. It's not weakening. It's just a normal change in pressure. 920, 921, same thing. So I just refreshed it again. They are coming back for a second pass for the northwestern eye wall. I'll come back to this at the end of the video because this is important information. This is live, up to date, and the wind speeds that they're recording do still corroborate to a Category 5. They still do confirm a Category 5. It might be down to 165 or 170, still a very strong Category 5 hurricane. Nothing to take lightly. If you're in an evacuation zone, leave now. Right here we have the surge map. This is new. I believe last year they started putting it out, but this year it's getting much better. If we zoom in a little bit, you got Naples over here. You know, Naples, you're talking about, pull it into, there we go, Naples, 3 to 6 feet above ground. Some of these nooks and crannies down here above a 9-foot storm surge. So you go to high tide, you go to normally dry ground, put 9 foot of water there. It's unbelievable. Some of these locations will be higher. It's impossible to put it on the map like that, but they will be higher than that. Homestead, you guys got absolutely devastated by Andrew. You're talking about another 3 to 6 to 9 foot storm surge in some of these small creeks, canals, rivers, back bays. It's just going to be a mess. Intercoastal waterway, it's going to just flood into you guys. Cutler Bay, 3 to 6 feet, 9 feet of storm surge possible. Go up here to Key Biscayne, one of my favorite places. I've only been there once, but boy, is it beautiful there. You know, 3 to 6 feet along the ocean side. Bay side looks a little bit better. That's all the water's going to get pushed towards the mainland. Miami Beach, the low-lying areas, you guys are going to flood from the rain, let alone the storm surge. 6 feet along the beaches, 3 feet in the bays. It'll likely go higher than that. You can expect a 5 to 10 foot storm surge in these areas, no doubt about it. These are conservative, I believe, these numbers here. Same thing for Fort Lauderdale, 3 to 6 feet. It'll probably be a little bit higher than that. I'll talk on why it'll be higher than that in a little bit. But for right now, this is where I will be staying. I'll be staying at Pompano Beach, about 1.8 to 2 miles off the coast in this general area right here. We do have the intercoastal running right there. So I'm a little bit closer to that than I would like to be. But I'll be staying on the second floor with a couple guys. It's a brick construction building. It's a little bit older of a building, but we will be on the second floor in case the surge comes up. It's going to be a mess. I believe I have a high likelihood of getting into an eye wall or even the eye. Staying at Pompano Beach. During the day Saturday, I will be venturing out to try to get some, water spouts coming on shore and stuff like that. I will be recording pre-storm video, and post-storm video. And it's gonna be a crazy few days for me down there. I want to move on to the satellite image. This is updating right now. Here we go. Major Hurricane Irma. I almost said Irene. Major Hurricane Irma. Sun has set on it. I like to show these because these are some of my favorite satellites, the after dark ones. It just looks like old school video or old school satellite. It's pretty neat in my opinion. It's passing right over some of these islands here. They got northern eye wall for 3 to 4 hours. It's going to be totally devastated there, 100%. All these islands here, 15 to 20 foot storm surge. These islands here, 10, maybe 12 foot storm surge. It's just going to be a total mess for you guys. Not to mention these islands here, you're talking about eye walls. This island here, eye wall. Over here, eye wall. 150 to 180 mile an hour gust easily, and they're going to last for a while. The storm is, it's moving at a decent clip for a hurricane, but it's a large storm. Let's move on to the infrared satellite. A little bit different of a view here, and it is a monster. You can see the circulation is perfectly symmetrical. You got the eye in the middle of the coldest cloud tops. There's really, after it's already cleared Hispaniola and Haiti, or DR and Haiti, Hispaniola. It's going to get awfully close to Cuba over the next couple days, or over the next day or so. National Hurricane Center does forecast a little bit of weakening, Cat 4 by this point here. I could see that happening. Land interaction, upper level conditions become a little bit less favorable. But this water is rocket fuel for hurricanes. I could easily see this coming ashore as a Cat 5. Excuse me. I do not want to see that happen. Damage would be absolutely catastrophic. But I do see the possibility of this rolling ashore as a Category 5 hurricane. Florida City, I believe this is where Josh Morgerman is, iCyclone. Shout out to you, Josh. Be safe. It's going to come ashore somewhere in this area here and track northeastward, or northeast, maybe northeast. But over the next day and a half or so, it's just going to rake the Bahamas, come close to the approach to Cuba. Let me switch to a red marker. It's a little bit easier to see on this this satellite here. Um, it's just absolutely devastating track for everybody involved. Bahamas, Cuba, Florida. Just a mess. The storm surge for you guys is going to be massive in the Bahamas. It's just incredible. Here's one last image. This is the water vapor image. Just showing a perfect storm. There is no dryer. If you saw dryer, you would see some of these yellow colors, as you see back here and over here. They would be getting wrapped into the storm. You'd usually wrap in, like that and get to the core. There's absolutely zero signs of that right now. There is zero evidence of dry air getting wrapped in this core. Look at the envelope of moisture for this thing. It's just massive. From almost the northern Bahamas back to Puerto Rico, it's just a massive envelope of moist, it's perfect conditions for this hurricane. If Hispaniola wasn't here earlier, it just would have kept intensifying. There's nothing stopping it besides a little bit of land interaction. You can see for a couple frames there, inflow got choked off, but it just fills right back in. It's a thing of beauty, or things or nightmares are made out of, depending which way you look at it. We're going to go to the Euro model here. This is the 12Z run, the most recent run from the European model. This is our most accurate model. It has been for this storm. Its accuracy for this storm is extremely good so far. There are charts out there. You can look them up on Twitter. It's leading the way in accuracy, and more than likely it'll continue to lead the way in accuracy. So I'm going to put this into motion here, back it up to 24 hours. Eastern tip of Cuba. It's a little bit less than 24 hours because this is about 8 hours old. So you're about 18 hours out right now, 16 hours out right now. 48 hours due south of Florida, due south of Miami pretty much. Right above central Cuba, right north of central Cuba. And this thing brings it a little bit farther west than last night's run did, and the model consensus from all of the other models. I'm going to show you 4 other models, and it is a little bit west of the consensus, but that means nothing. All that means is the Keys get it a little bit worse. Miami, you're still in the northeast eye wall. You're in the eastern eye wall. Pompano Beach, Palm Beach, all these towns, Key Biscayne, Homestead. It's just going to be devastating for you guys. A couple more, we're at 96 hours out. The Euro runs the coast with this thing. It just brings it up in this area here and runs not even the coast, the spine. I'm sorry, I'm saying the spine of Florida gets just absolutely destroyed. From the southern tip through Orlando up Jacksonville, you're in the eastern eye wall. Just an absolutely devastating storm. Ryan Maui put out some great stats. We're talking, if this track comes true, trillions of dollars in damage. Just an unbelievable event. We have Jose out here. Jose, don't worry about it yet. It may get trapped under the ridge. It may sit out here for a couple days. We might have to worry about it in the future. But for right now, do not focus on it. Irma is a force to be reckoned with, and it's going to be hundreds of billions or even $1 trillion disaster for the United States. It's going to be very historic. People will talk about this for decades to come, most likely. So let's switch over to the GFS, the most recent GFS. This shows a bit of a different track, but a very similar track. So let me put this into motion. We are 12 hours out. I'm just going to skip right to the meat of this run. 54 hours out. We are due south of Miami. About 48 hours out, due south of Miami. 54 hours. We're approaching the coast. If you notice, it is strengthening. 9:23 at 42 hours. 9:10 at 54 hours out. As it approaches the coast, 9:03, 9:01. This is a Miami landfall. This is an extremely devastating solution for Miami, Palm Beach, all these extremely wealthy towns, extremely, built-up towns. It's just going to be catastrophic. You see some videos and some pictures from Hurricane Wilma. These high-rises had their windows completely blown out. That is flying shrapnel debris that'll kill you if you're walking out. If for some reason you're outside and you get hit with a piece of glass, you're going to die. But not only that, it damages nearby buildings, it damages nearby everything. When you're talking about winds around 150 miles an hour, it destroys everything. Even the most well-built buildings, they sustain damage. There's nothing you can do. So after the Miami landfall, this tracks up right over Cape Canaveral. I do not think I'll be able to get 2 locations in this chase. I will be staying in Pompano Beach. I also have another place I could stay at in Cape Canaveral. I just don't think there's any way I can get from Pompano to Cape Canaveral in time. That would be nice, but I don't think it's going to happen. So after tracking over Cape Canaveral, this rides the coast right into the Georgia coastline and before getting pinwheeled back into central Georgia. It stays as a hurricane. You're likely talking a Category 1 or 2 by the time it gets up there, but still a very strong and dangerous storm. When it rides the coast like this, all the water from the storm, you're talking about a flow around the system like that, just gets fallen right into this coastline. The shape of the coastline here is very conducive to large storm surges. Something to think about. As the storm moves up the coast, all that water is getting pushed the entire time right into that nook. The Florida, Georgia, South Carolina border is very, very prone to large storm surges. It's very, very concerning for multiple states. I'm going to switch over to the H-WRF now, the newest model they have out. We're talking about 3 hours. It's way too strong. We're at about 921 millibars currently from Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance. This has an 889. It's way too strong, but you can still use the track. I don't think the pressure is going to influence the track all that much. As you can see, in 9 hours it adjusts 910, 914 millibars. But this is a little bit different solution. This is closer to the GFS. It's a little bit less interaction with Cuba, but brings this up right around Key Largo, Miami, Key Biscayne. I will be positioned in this area right here, give or take about 10 miles or so. Yeah, about in that position, maybe right up here. And we're in the eastern eye wall, just an absolutely direct hit. There, we would be, it's just a direct hit. We'd actually get in the eye in that solution right here. So this is the H-WRF. It brings it through Miami, up the coast. Eye goes over Cape Canaveral. That's 2 models now that's showing an eye going over Cape Canaveral. A little bit more offshore than the GFS, but again, pinwheels right back into Georgia. It could be Georgia's turn for a substantial hurricane landfall. And as you can see, a little bit better on this map here. Look at these wind barbs just getting pushed right into the coast. If I were to back this up a little bit, you would see that fetch for a long time period. I will back it up a little bit so you can see the example I'm talking about. Cape Canaveral, you're still, when the hurricane's off Cape Canaveral, we're still getting that offshore fetch. The wind's coming from offshore, just piling the water up in this nook and cranny. All these bays, all these inlets, everything. Just the storm surge will be massive up by you guys. So keep that in mind. Georgia, South Carolina, northern Florida, storm surge is not going to miss you. The winds may be diminished to Category 1 or Category 2 strength, but the storm surge will not diminish. 2 more models I want to show you real quick before we wrap this up. This is the H-WRF. This is another hurricane model specifically made for this type of event. Skip right to the meat and potatoes here. 48 hours out, we have an extremely strong 916 millibar Category 4, Category 5 hurricane bearing down South Florida with a landfall right around the Miami-Dade area and right over my location where I will be in Pompano Beach. This is a large eye on this model. Many people will be experiencing the eye of the storm. It gets off the coast a little bit earlier than the other models. Cape Canaveral in the western eye wall, not in the actual eye in this model run. And it just hugs the coast, and that is now 3 models that pinwheel back into Georgia. This is going to be the solution more than likely. The Euro rides the spine of the state right up the coast, right inland, right up the state. Most other models bring it just a tad offshore or ride the coast into Georgia. Georgia, South Carolina border. I cannot stress how big the storm surge is going to be for you guys. It'll rival Matthews. Could be bigger than Matthews. Just be ready. That's all I can keep saying is be ready. One last run. This is the NAM 18Z high resolution, 920 millibars upon approach, but watch it strengthen from hour 44. From hour 42, we're at 920 millibars. Put this ahead 8 hours, 907 millibars. Upon landfall, 904 millibars. Right in Miami. This is absolutely an incredible run. We're talking about 150, 160 mile an hour sustained winds coming into Miami, coming into some of the most populated areas along the Florida coast. NAM only goes out to 48 hours, but it's just absolutely pounding them with 100+ mile an hour winds for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. It'll be unbelievable. It'll be absolutely unbelievable. So let me get back to where I started here. National Hurricane Center forecast track. Currently they have it coming right up the spine of Florida, possibly hugging the coast a little bit here at the end. Monday afternoon, Monday morning. Again, I will be in Pompano Beach. I'm chasing Hurricane Irma. My flight out tomorrow is 7:30 a.m. out of Atlantic City, New Jersey, coming right down to Florida. And I shall be posting videos, give or take, around 1 or 2 o'clock. Gotta stop and get some supplies. I gotta get some water, some food. Hopefully it's not too crazy up by Orlando. I'm sure it's going to be. But I'll be heading southbound while everybody else is heading northbound. Pray for Florida. Keep them in your prayers. I'll be alright. I'll be posting videos. Follow me on Twitter, stormforce_1. And God bless.